Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DeFirio. I am your host for the show, and I'm really excited for you to be here. If you're a coffee professional who just wants to be better in leadership and management, operations, hospitality, and just everything that works in a coffee shop to make it a great place, this is the place for you. Subscribe to the show wherever you listen, wherever you watch the podcast, and also share these episodes on social media, as well as leave 5-star ratings and reviews anywhere you can, whenever you have the opportunity. It just takes a minute to do it. Thank you so much. Now, before we get into it, I really want you to know about our key holder coaching groups. We are now in our 5th season, coming up on the 5th season in fall 2025. Applications are open on our website at keystotheshop.com. You just click on coaching groups. This is a paid mastermind style cohort of coffee shop owners, 5 to 6 experienced brick and mortar cafe owners who are here to gather over 6 months and help each other work through specific issues and opportunities, to encourage one another for accountability. We share insights, and that community really is transformational for so many. Every time we do one of these, everybody walks away with some, not only ideas, but clarity, encouragement, and a perspective that really helps them grow as owners, not feel so isolated, but also helps their business grow as well. So if getting into that kind of a community sounds like something that's appealing, then I think you should just go and apply at our website, keystotheshop.com. Click on the coaching groups tab and go from there. You can just email directly Chris at keystotheshop.com, and I can give you more information personally. But hopefully we'll get to see you in these groups. We're taking these applications and selecting final members somewhere around the beginning of September. So you've got time, but don't wait too long. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Arto Brick and by the Pacific Barista Series. I'm going to talk more about those folks in the middle of our episode today, later on. But right now, let's get into our guests, okay? We're going to be talking to the 2 owners of Goldies Coffee Roasters in Anchorage, Alaska, Jenna Currier and Kristen Redfield. Jenna Currier and Kristen Redfield are 2 sisters from Alaska, and they together discovered coffee back in the early 2000s. First, Jenna as a barista in 2008, and then they ended up working together because Kristen got a job as a barista with Jenna in 2010, and their careers kind of started right there, working as baristas in the trenches, falling in love with community and coffee and this coffee shop, coffee drive-through stand scene. And that really just gripped them. So they wanted to keep pursuing that. In 2013, they co-founded Goldie's Coffee Roasters in Anchorage, Alaska. So for the past 12 years, Jenna and Kristen have been just passionate about growing this business, doing so with an eye towards quality, always staying plugged into the industry, going to trade shows and industry events to further their education, to make sure that what they're serving in their drive-thru in Anchorage is truly specialty coffee. And they're always working on the business, of course, but they also keep themselves involved in the business to know how things are going. They're passionate about coffee. They're passionate about people. They have a very people-first attitude. They want to give back to their community. And you'll find that throughout this conversation, their focus is firmly on that kindness, on that connection, on that community. And that's what's made them successful for the past 12 years. And it's what actually, that unity behind the values, it creates the great culture in their company, but also between them as owners. So we're going to get to talk to them all about the founding of Goldie's Coffee Roasters and the culture, about hiring, about working with a sibling, about roasting, and what the scene of coffee is like in Anchorage, Alaska, and their advice for other operators who are looking to really thrive in their environment, especially those of you who have drive-thrus, by the way. This is a great episode to focus on because it talks specifically to the hospitality that you can give in that model, and about how to work on communication and what it takes to succeed in this particular model. So they're a perfect case for it. So let's get right to it. Here is my conversation with Kristen and Jenna of Goldies Coffee Roasters. Well, if it isn't Goldie's Coffee Roasters, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having us, Chris.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have you both on the show. I think the last time I met you at Coffee Fest, I think on the show floor at one of the many coffee fests you've been to. I think you've been to quite a number of conferences over the years since you've started Goldies, right?
Yeah, we our first
Yes.
year was 2015 at the SCA, and we try and make it, every couple years at least. Visit a new city or return to a favorite and just stay connected. I think we were able to meet you at the last one we went to at Coffee Fest in Orlando.
Yes.
Yeah, so cool. The more I looked into the story and working with your sibling, and then 12 years into the game and still going strong, I really wanted to get an opportunity to explore your story. So I'm glad to have you here. And I think that's one of the things that's also pretty cool about what you're doing is you're staying plugged in to the industry and going to these educational events and staying updated on what's going on. And I don't know if everybody has to do that, but I do think it makes a difference in how things evolve over the years. And we'll get to that. So my first question, though, is around the starting a coffee shop thing, the starting a coffee business. I imagine you both were coffee fans. Did you decide to start this together, or was it one of y'all's idea, and then you were like, "Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do this as sisters." How did this all start?
Oh, well, I'll credit Jenna from when she started her coffee career.
Yeah, so I had a position and I was leaving it. And so told Kristen, I said, hey, I know you're about done wrapping up with college, but there's a great job as a barista. If you want it, I'll put in a good recommendation for you. And so she took it and she loved it. And then our paths kind of crossed again and working together, maybe like a year or so down the road.
Yeah. And actually Jenna started coffee in high school.
Yeah.
So she's been in it a while, and I just joined, right before graduating college because I had the opportunity with her leaving. But so she's been doing it for a while.
Yeah. So we had the opportunity to work together in a shop for 4 years, side by side,
Day in, day out, and it worked. We loved it. And when Jenna finished her degree, shortly after I got mine, we had the opportunity to kind of start our own business, and we didn't think too much about it. We just knew it felt right, and it was something we really loved doing. And the coffee industry was so rewarding and so fun, and we just had like a touch of it at that point, but we knew it was something that we wanted to do.
And pursue for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the idea of working together, you tested that out. You're like, yeah, we've got the chemistry. Not everybody can do it, but you've got the chemistry, and the industry seemed attractive because you said it was rewarding. So what exactly was the reward for doing that coffee work?
I would say personally for me, going to work every day was something I enjoyed. I looked forward to, you look forward to the people that you serve, some of them daily, and just you, it was something that you woke up and you were excited to do. And that was probably one of the first jobs I had that was really like that, like really truly could do that. And then it's just fun being a barista. There's, it's fun. It's fun making lattes and steaming milk and dialing in coffee. And there's a lot of fun to it.
Yeah, we get to meet people when we work the morning shifts, when they just get to start their day. And maybe it's only for a few minutes, but they're excited to see you. They're excited to get their coffee. So there's just a lot of positive energy. And I think you get kind of hooked into that and that service.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after a while, it became something that you maybe thought, we should do this as a career, as a business. When did that moment happen, and did opening your own business become like that initial thought of how to do this professionally, not just as a job that you enjoy, but let's do this professionally. Let's start our own business. When did that happen, and what was the first step to making that a reality?
Well, I think Jenna finished college, so it was like we were done with school. We don't have really any other commitments, and there was an opportunity that we had to buy a shop that was for sale. And looking back, would I make those same decisions now? But when you're young, it's like, absolutely, this is our chance. Let's do it. You don't put too much thought into all the things that it entails or what you're going to have to do. You just know, hey, this is a chance we have. We both are finished with school. We're both living in the same town. We love what we do, and let's just do this. So
Yeah, and I
yeah,
would say at that point we were more looking as buying ourselves a job than a career. That kind of came a couple years into the business.
yeah. And then once you dive in, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but you know, looking for the coffee that is that's consistent, that you're serving. We weren't roasting at the time, so we started realizing there was some things that were very important to us, and as a shop, and what we're serving out the window. And then entered the idea of like, well, how do we improve? How do we separate ourselves a little bit from someone down the street, or um, just have more control over that and grow in that way. And so, yeah, Jenna introduced, hey, what about roasting? I was like, oh man, something we hadn't, considered initially, but
Okay, let me back up a little bit here if I could, because I'm really interested in this idea of buying an existing business, taking it over, and then making it your own. One of the things I hear from people is not so much about how they're going to change everything, especially if they're new into owning a business or even relatively new in coffee. I mean, you had been baristas for a little bit, right? But at this point, one would say, hey, why don't you just stick with the roaster that they're using? It's one less thing to think about. So you obviously had some kind of a coffee standard that you couldn't, it was like a non-negotiable, I suppose, that was like, we can't be proud of the coffee we're using right now. No shade on the people that would, before you, but it wasn't your style. So I guess it's pretty cool that you kind of drew a line in the sand and said, we have to do something about this, even though you were new at the time. Was it kind of a temptation to not do that, to say, let's make it easy on ourselves? Let's just get used to owning the business first.
Yes, we did. We did try that. So we would start with blending. So blending from different local roasters to achieve a certain flavor profile and see how that was extracting and holding up to milk-based beverages.
Yeah,
so we did that for
before
a few years.
we roasted, we were blending coffee where we were driving different parts of the town to grab certain beans, certain origins, certain countries that we knew that we wanted in our espresso blend. And so that's kind of how Tried and True was born, which is kind of our flagship coffee espresso milk based blend that we have. And that started out as us blending beans in the shop from 4 different roasters in town, just to get the coffee that we wanted. And yeah, so there was a lot of blending.
That's so unique to go about it that way. And it sounds like y'all are pretty tenacious.
Yeah, I mean,
is a good word.
Yeah, I mean, Jenna more so, but yeah, totally. Yeah, looking back, I was like, man, that was a lot of work. I mean, roasting's a lot of work too, but it was different. I don't know.
Yeah.
It gave us a lot of experience for learning coffees and learning what coffees, what traits and
different flavor profiles and what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
What's the profile you were looking for that would signify, hey, we'll take Tried and True, but maybe that's the cornerstone of how the rest of your coffee menu was built? What's the profile you think you wanted to go for, and why was that what you selected?
We were used to working with very roasty, toasty coffees. We wanted something a little lighter than that. That would still hold up in a 12-ounce, 16-ounce latte, because that was a lot of our coffee drinkers would order. But we wanted something that would still taste great just as espresso or in a black Americano, and even having a nice coffee for a drip to serve. So we were just looking for something a little softer, but still full body.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Okay, so is that a regional preference that you were also considering when it was, these are what our customers like. This is what they want. They want something, I imagine in your area in Alaska, not being from there, I think we all just assume that it's midnight all the time and everyone needs a lot of stimulants and they need a lot of, punch in their drinks. Maybe that's a bit of a reductionist way of looking at it, but is
No,
it unique palate there?
people, I mean, I think especially there's a lot of white mochas. People love their, adding all the things to their coffee. So how do you have a coffee that through all of that you still taste good coffee? So you're not covering up. I feel you want something that can hold up there for those drinkers, but also we want to separate that where, hey, if you drink a black drip coffee or just your Americano, that it's of a quality and something that we enjoy and that just a different standard, I guess. I don't know.
Different standard. And I would say specialty coffee would be a newer scene for where we're at.
For maybe drive-throughs, because there are a lot, drive-throughs in Alaska are very unique. Not something I realized maybe until I started traveling more, drinking more coffee, that, hey, not everywhere has drive-throughs, every half mile down the road, or there's, here there's a lot, and it's something very unique to Alaska. And so just bringing that specialty coffee component and what we learn in the industry when we, leave state, and just trying to really bring that home to Goldies and share that with our customers has been kind of a goal of ours. And so, yeah, I guess good coffee and different roast, different flavor
Profiles.
profiles.
Well, let me ask about your model of coffee shop as a drive-through. And you just mentioned that it's the specialty aspect that makes it special, not to be redundant, but I imagine you can get away with less and be fine. In that there's a lot of people that do that.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like maybe that model is given to now those listening who have these. You're the exception, obviously, but that if you have that kind of a model, especially the stand, is there a lowered expectation of quality in this model, kind of inherent in this model more than other models?
I would say so.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would say absolutely. And so just trying to change that when people visit the shop, and because there's so many, and I think we're unique, and a lot of owners do work them and are baristas, but not always the case. They can be very turnkey, so people kind of jump into it not really knowing, or maybe they're not working it or not behind the bar roast, so us being so involved
In the industry, I
yeah
think that shows.
yeah
Yeah,
so,
involved in the industry and being like what we talked about earlier, the
mhm,
education, but I
yeah
imagine you're pretty hands-on as owners.
yeah we wear a lot of hats a lot of hats. But yeah, so we still work in the shop a couple days each a week, and they're in the mornings, and that's fun because it gets you back to just what you enjoy doing most. One of the things I enjoy most, but also you have all the other things too. So yeah.
So I think then the idea is you working the bar. This happens a lot to people. I think they work the bar after a while from not working it, and then they're like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize it was like this," or it has become something different, and then they change stuff. But it sounds like if you're working the bar a lot, just to stay connected, that you're able to sort of refine your systems so that it's never kind of getting away from you. Is that a something you've experienced? Is that a benefit of staying kind of in the work a little bit?
Absolutely. But it's also hard to always work your business and grow it at the same time. So, like this morning, for example, like just sourcing green coffee and working on our next order, and then I got to take off a little some time from roasting, and maybe I need someone else to cover my shift at the shop later this week. So it's just, yes, it's so great to stay connected, but also you're trying to find that balance and making time to work on the business. And
Yeah, we were talking about that a little, maybe last week or so on the show, the in the business versus on the business idea, the Michael Gerber quote of E Myth Revisited book. And sometimes people take it too far where they're never in the business at all. They're like, I'm working on my business, and they nobody ever sees them. There's a balance there. It sounds like you've got a good balance. And your staff probably appreciate that you can appreciate where they're coming from, I bet.
I think so.
I think so, yeah. And and I enjoy working with our staff. We have some great team members, and so it is fun, especially when you get to work with someone maybe you haven't worked with in a while, and just and if, of course, if a piece of equipment is just off or not right, then like, oh hey, I need to maybe you weren't told, or so you kind of So there's a lot of benefit to that, but
there is, yeah.
In starting the business, you got it to the point where you wanted it. You rebranded. You started using your own coffees, and you started roasting. After you went and did this tour of coffees from around the area, and you started roasting your own coffee, did it become, well, was it as easy as you wanted it to be? Was it as hard as you imagined it would be? What was the process like getting from using other people's established roasted coffee to roasting your own?
Ooh, I'd say we had a lot of self-doubt on our roasting capabilities, but we have a wonderful user-friendly roaster. So it didn't take us too long to dial in the batches. And then once you start brewing the coffee and you're comparing it to what you're purchasing, you're realizing you're purchasing a higher quality. It's fresher. You have control over the roast date when you're brewing it. So yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a learning curve in dialing and roast.
I do remember
tossed a couple batches.
Some of the first batches, Jenna's like, well, that's it. We're out of coffee. We're serving what we roast. Like, we're not buying any more coffee. So we're just like, well, we're doing this, but yeah, our roaster is very user friendly once you got to know, especially the certain coffees that, we roast weekly. You kind of know the profiles and you start learning a lot about those coffees, Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say the blending really helped set us up for green buying, like what coffees to look for and what was kind of already in our blend. So we were almost purchasing to fill that.
Yeah.
Which I think is a unique way.
Yeah. Not having like a single origin espresso that drastically changes, 1 week to the next. So we weren't doing that. So yeah, I think it was fairly gradual, and yeah.
We didn't tell customers for like the first 3 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then we're like, hey, we've been roasting for the last 3 months. What do you guys think?
You're drinking, and some of them were like, oh, they, didn't notice, or maybe they did, but there were no complaints, I don't think.
So, I was going to ask, like, how did they respond to you roasting your own coffee? Yeah.
They were excited.
It's funny because even last week, a gal was like, oh, I didn't know you roast your own coffee. It's just, it's so unique for a drive-through to, I mean, they're out there, but to roast your own coffee as well. She's like, oh, well, that's, really cool. And I was like, oh, it's, on our sign and on your cup. But, it's just funny that the people don't expect that necessarily all the time. But they really enjoy the coffee, which is cool.
When you started to sell the whole bean coffee to your customers, this is something I'm very interested in. You're a drive-through. How do you sell whole bean coffee to people out of a window? Do you sell it a lot out of the window, or is it mostly online? How does this work?
A lot out the window.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the quickest. And I, like Jenna said once, that's the best compliment. And they come up, hey, I need 3 bags of tried and true, just whole bean. And then the quickest transaction, and then they're off. And we love that. And we sell a lot that way. A lot of online sales, not as much as through the window. So,
yeah, I would say it's very convenient because you can purchase your coffee on your way from maybe home to work or
on your lunch break. Yeah. And then, it's all whole bean, but we have the grinder. So if people want it ground for their preference, we can do that as well. So very convenient, I think, versus, I don't know.
Yeah. In that environment, how do you get people to become whole bean customers to begin with? So if they start with a drip coffee or a latte, but eventually you want them to become a tried and true coffee regular, what does that transition look like?
Well, we'll usually have a bag sitting out on the shelf where they can see it at the window when they pull up above us, and it's all stocked and all the different kinds. And we try to rotate
Do like a featured coffee each month. So
Yeah.
So they'll see the sign, they'll ask about it, and just once they start asking questions, we're like, well, actually, you're drinking tried and true right now, or you had the Tanzania last week as your drip, and then it starts to get them going, like, oh, well, maybe I'll brew some at home, and so gradual for some, and then once you get them, they'll come back.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, everybody, it's Chris, and I hope you're enjoying the episode. I want to talk to you about our sponsors today. Of course, first we have Arto Brick, at Arto Brick on Instagram. Those folks are making some amazing tiles, stonework, and just hard surfaces across different applications, whether that's commercial or residential. But we're talking about coffee shops a lot on this show, of course, Keys to the Shop. One of the things that you notice in a cafe is the material, the stuff you put your books in your hands and your coffee cups on. You're walking on it, you're leaning up against it. That contributes to the feel of a cafe, literally. And if you are having a brainwave, if you have this creative streak where you're thinking, I really have a vision for what a unique space could look like with tiles, hard surfaces, or stonework, then you should look up Arto Brick. Armin would love to talk to you. DM them on Instagram at Arto Brick. Now, I also want to talk to you about the Pacific Barista series. This is the OG plant-based beverage in the space, and it is still the preferred plant-based beverage for so many around the world because the product stands up to the heat from steaming, produces great texture, and keeps the flavor balance focused, clear, and quality. So your customers can tell the difference of quality. This is a company that focuses on feedback from baristas. Everything is tested before it's released by some of the best palates in the business. So check them out at pacificfoodservice.com, get samples, try it for yourself. I think if you're looking for the best plant-based beverages for your customers, you should be looking at the Barista series from Pacific. Between the time you opened the business and remodeled and the time where you kind of got in a rhythm of roasting your own coffee, I'm sure there was a lot of personal growth through different challenges that presented themselves in the building of the business. I wonder if you can elaborate a little bit on what the most memorable transformations were professionally for you both during that time.
Oh, that's a great question. Where to begin? We've learned so much along the way. So trying to pinpoint a few things. I know I've grown so much as a leader with more responsibilities and having larger staff. And when I'm taking on more roles like roasting and green buying and packaging, I am relying on staff, having them train our new employees and setting them up with a new, just like standard operating procedures. Like, okay, we have a new hire. Can you go through all this list with them and get just training going?
Giving that up a little bit.
Delegating.
Realizing that you have to do that. You just have to. And I think for me, communication and expectations, I've probably have grown, just recognizing what maybe I need or what someone else might need from me, whether it be Jenna, or just how important that is and how that should be clear. And if it's clear and expectations are clear, it's going to help. And I think that is one area that I feel like I've grown. Just looking back, it was smaller. You can easily assume more, maybe, or you think you can. But when you have all these people and all these parts that kind of rely on communication and operating procedures, just you're held a little to a higher standard, I guess. And
accepting that responsibility and making it more clear to operate in those parameters.
And recognizing you can't do everything, even though I feel like you can and maybe you should, but trying to take a step back at times.
When you're talking about your standards and SOPs and communication, you're giving a lot of responsibility to people that work for you. When you're not there, when you're out, when you're roasting or something, these are the folks that are going to represent the company to the customer. And therefore it sounds like you've discovered, the more we have clarity, the better, but you still need to delegate those things, right? and follow up on and see how they're going. And what is it that you've done in the, it's been 12 years to really verify and do quality assurance that the measures that you've taken, so you can have SOPs, you can have communication, but is it effective? How do you judge the effectiveness of what you've put into the ecosystem there? What have you found works best?
Following up with your manager, with your trainer, seeing how things are going, asking about the progress or rooms for improvement. I think I always leave every shift or when I drop something off, you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns for me? And they're like, no, but actually, yes, I have a few things. So listening to your staff members, being open to receive that feedback, leaning on your managers, kind of bridging that gap between like customer relations and management a little bit. So they're your eyes and ears when you're not there. But yeah, keeping that communication line open. We all work together. I know I'm your boss, but we all work together. We all have the same goals.
We have a fantastic manager, and I think she's been key in so many instances where maybe it's easier for staff to talk to her, and then she can include us on maybe what's going on, and so that's been really, really helpful, just having another person that's not us but someone else that they can immediately go to. And for a while we didn't have a manager because we were in the shop so much and didn't really need it at the time, but so that's been very helpful. We're a very small space, so it's not like, after work we'll sit down and have a meeting here. There's nowhere to meet, so we try to schedule things. Probably could get better at that with one-on-ones more often. But
yeah, overlapping.
Yeah,
I think.
How many staff do you have right now?
We have 6.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Small, tight-knit crew.
I like that. Like small, tight-knit, good communication. You get up to 12 people, it starts to be a little hairy. Your manager, I was just about to ask about your ability to step away when that happened, when you found somebody to be a manager for the space. What was the clue? At what point did the business signify to you, hey, you need some help? You can't keep doing this and expect to have a healthy life in a healthy business. When did that happen, and what was the signal for that?
I would say maybe around your second maternity leave.
Yeah,
I was like, I need help.
Yeah, we take a little time off. That's a few months, and just with orders or just the communication with staff, someone else that they can call or reach out to. That's not necessarily us, and so just having that line of communication open for people to, during maybe non-business hours or whenever, just contact her. So that was.
She helped take so much off our plate, and it's been amazing. And she's been with us 7.5 years now. So.
Oh wow, very cool.
I know.
How did you find her? Was it just natural, or how do you find a good manager these days?
Well, she was an employee that was looking for more, and we did kind of approach her for the position to see if she was interested in it, and she said absolutely.
Yeah, so very hard worker.
She sets a very strong example for other staff members, and also just easy to relate to. And she takes the lead, which is great.
Yeah.
Okay, kind of a self-starter. Okay, that's awesome. One of the things that people talk about is how, I don't have anybody on staff right now that I could think of as being a manager of this space. And I guess I'm not asking you to diagnose their question or their problem. That's impossible. But I will assume that it's because of culture and because of, how hiring happens. So how does hiring happen? I mean, what kind of values are you looking for these people at Goldies to have, that you can have a culture that's a positive culture where you can draw upon people and they're kind of leaders already?
Yeah, I would say for hiring, we're really looking at like a good personality fit, somebody who maybe has some experience in any customer service relationship. That can be like receptionist,
Yeah, just kind of anything really.
anything working with the public.
Have you worked with people?
And do you enjoy working with people? Do you enjoy having conversations with people? So we'll start with applicants. So maybe I'll give them a phone call and see if I can ask them certain questions. Well, they'll start kind of opening up to me, like, what are you looking for in employment? What certain values do you look for in an employer? Really, what are your expectations with this job or a job that you're searching for? And remembering, like, they're searching for an employer just as much as you're shopping around for a staff member to be in addition to your team.
Yeah, I mean, I think we didn't always do a phone call, like a real kind of impromptu, just chat on the phone, kind of feel out kind of what they're looking for, or if it might be a good fit before bringing them in and meeting them. And that's been super helpful, having just that conversation over the phone first. And a conversation can go a long way. Say like, hey, I'm really excited to meet this person, or I can tell they really want to come in and this, might be an awesome fit. And so that's been helpful.
Yeah. Or if they're like, I only want to work mornings, Monday through Friday. Like, okay, well, that's not going to work necessarily for us. We start everybody in the afternoons, and we are open 7 days a week. So we're looking for somebody with some flexibility there too. So just meeting expectations.
And not hiring because, next Tuesday we have an opening and we need someone in here. Taking that time to really find someone, we'll work some extra shifts just to make sure we're bringing in someone that we feel good about, and not forcing that, trying not to force it.
This experience together, working side by side, it feels like you both bring that intuition, knowing what you want to be the end product of the experience, so you can reverse engineer it to when you're looking at a person and saying, well, can they render that? Can they make that happen? Which is kind of unique to have that similar experience in kind of a unified front in that experience. But that's good that you've taken the time to wait to hire instead of rushing to fill that position. And I wonder how much of this is also, we don't typically recommend it all the time, but there is something to be said for fit with your existing crew if your crew is a good crew, So is that a consideration as well?
Yes. I said they need to be able to, new applicants need to be able to really communicate. So if there's a lack of communication, that's going to be a hard one to fit. We work in such a fast-paced environment.
Yeah, and just, you have 2 windows, I guess, essentially going both times. So communication's big, and yes, because we've had bad hires where immediately you can see how that affects everybody. And, it's, people, it's hard. You just kind of don't really know until you get someone in there and working, but we understand how important that is, that, okay, we like them, we'd hang out with them, but will it work in here? Will it work in this? Will it jive with everybody else? And it can be hard. That's one of the hardest parts for sure is hiring and staffing. And
Yeah. Well, there's another hard part that I think is interesting to explore just for a moment. And that's, it doesn't sound like it's hard for you, but working with a relative, working with a sibling, there's people who have these partnerships with significant others, etc. Is there a way that you found it works best for you? Have you had to work at that, or has it been just natural the whole time?
I would say it work like any relationship. And,
definitely. Yeah.
But you also, we have the same core values.
Yeah, we come from a real small, tight-knit family. Both our parents from Oregon. We're essentially the only ones up here. We don't have any relatives here. So we grew up very, very tight-knit. We have a younger brother. And I think just knowing that this person has the foundation I have, and they see things for the most part just how I see it, and you can trust that, and that together, you're going to lead each other to a good place. And just trusting that and relying on that. Communications, going back to communications, we've worked on that, always working on that. Like any relationship, there's a lot of parts that are important, but at the end of the day, there's no one else that I would trust, enough to run a business with. And Jenna, so
yeah, I would definitely say we both have different perspectives, and we'll both bring different things to the table, and we'll butt heads. But at the end of the day, we have the same goals, and the trust is there,
and the values
and
align.
The values.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested in those values. Is this something that you've written out for your staff, the company values?
Oh,
I think we have it written down somewhere.
We could probably be better at it.
But honesty, communication, integrity,
and people first,
and relationships. Nice. As much really take care in your relationships. If you're going to do something, follow through with it. If something else comes up, just communicate that. So there's no,
I think
no hard feelings.
The values we always remind, during training or new hires, we serve great coffee, but people are going to remember the experience at the window. They're going to remember this and how they felt. And if they felt great and the coffee was maybe a little off, they'll probably come back. But if, the service was terrible and the coffee is great, they probably won't, they might not come back. So just knowing that service component, and because you're not inside a cafe, you're not walking in, you don't see the place or feel the place. You have one you have one window, and that is your kind of your only experience to the shop, this place, this barista, the service, and that's kind of all you have. You're in your car. So it's just how important that interaction at the window is. It's very important to us, and so we try and share that with staff and just how much that means. And
I would say the relationship that we have, staff picks up on that, and so do our customers. And if a staff member, if they're there and they're not happy or they don't want to be there, customers can pick up on that. We can pick up on that. There's no hiding. Any of it.
That's one of the, I guess it's a benefit and a downfall of a tight-knit crew, right?
Yeah.
It spreads fast. So you got to be vigilant to spread the right thing. Your interactions in the drive-through, this is another question I think everyone in this position has to think about, is how do you deliver the hospitality very well in such a short, in even a kind of a distant interaction?
Well, right when they pull up, greet them right away, whether it's a hi, if the window's shut, it's winter, a wave, just anything to hey, I see you. We're going to be right there. We're going to take care of you, even if I can't take your whole drink order right now. And just that from the get-go is so important. Just that acknowledgement. Hey, we see you. We'll be right there.
And our bar is set up so no matter which window you pull up to, we have two windows, you can see the flow of the bar. You can see your latte being made. So nice. You have that time to be like, hey, how's it going? You drinking your usual? You get started on the usual, then maybe you follow up. How was your weekend fishing? How'd you guys do? Okay, awesome. Here's your latte.
Yeah.
It's going to be $5. Thank you so much. Have a great day. So you're following. For us, we don't know any different because we've never worked in a cafe setting. So for that drive-through, we're focusing on one customer at a time, and we're following that through as far as the greet, the order, making the order, and cashing them out. So we have multiple staff members. We're just still focusing on that one card at a time.
And you get the order and they have you, and it's just a couple minutes, if that, and just how do you make that a good experience and them happy and feel taken care of when they leave. And it's fun. It's rewarding when you can, you make their morning. Maybe that's the best part of their day. And, it's quick, but I guess, that's kind of all I know as far as being a barista is that window dynamic. But
that's really cool. Yeah. Because you can innovate around that and just invent things that will work better and better for that one model, for that one customer that you're focused on. It sounds like it could be a powerful thing, even though it might seem like it's a very distant or really quick thing. So that's really encouraging. And, I think the question I have really to kind of round off this time is related to your advice that you might give other owners and operators. I know you go to trade shows, you go to educational events, and I'm sure you talk with small business owners around your area. So if it's advice that you would find yourself giving a lot, or even just now as we're talking, that you really want to, say, hey, this conversation made us think this is something that other coffee shop operators would benefit from, what would you say based on 12 years of specialty coffee?
Oh boy. I think going back to values, knowing what's important to you and trying to, how do I back this up and how do I achieve this? And I think looking back, maybe we weren't like, maybe that wasn't as clear. We just kind of jumped into it. But if you can like figure that out, and like all the other pieces will kind of come into play when you start like, will this work? Will that help hold up those values? Will it, yeah, like, so great coffee, consistent, fresh, that was a big one for us. And we knew that from right away, and just making decisions that continually follow up that
And support it.
Even when it's really tough. And
yeah, I'd say my recommendation would be either to other people in our community or in other cafes and coffee shops, find your niche. What do you want to be known for? And how do you execute that? And what makes you unique from the drive-through or the cafe down the street? And just put the emphasis there.
And there is a community for that. I feel like you have to trust that there are people that will align with and appreciate and enjoy what you're trying to do, and they'll be there for you. And just knowing that, okay, you have that community, and they will come, they will find you, and you just got to kind of trust it. You can't make everybody happy, and you just got to be okay with that. But just knowing that what you're doing is makes
if you have passion about it, and you can follow it through, other people will see it. And you just kind of find your people, I guess, and your customer base through that lens. Nice. But don't try to be something that you're not going to be passionate about, or just be true to who you are and your values. Yeah. And I think the rest will help follow through and kind of set in place.
Nice.
As goes on.
And then you look back and you've done over a decade of that, and somehow, wow, look at where we've come from.
It feels quick, but it's also like, oh, we've come a long ways.
We've come a long ways since June 1st, 2013. Yeah. So
wow. Yeah. Congratulations again. And thanks for joining us on the show. Where can we learn more about Goldies? How can we stay plugged in?
Very active on Instagram at Goldies Coffee Roasters. And I think email at goldiescoffeeshop@gmail.com. We're both very active on that. The website we do, you can access the website goldiescoffeeroasters.com and shop online, but Instagram's the best way to get a hold of us.
Yeah, and stay up to date on things we're doing. Yep.
That's right. Well, thank you both, Kristen and Jenna. This was wonderful. Thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having us.
We really appreciate it, Chris.
And thank you for all you do. We look forward to our weekly Keys to the Shop sessions, and we'll chat about them afterwards. And
yes, it's a nice. It bridges the gap from the coffee events, that in between coffee events. So it's a nice way to stay rejuvenated and inspired,
especially when you're in Alaska and everything. You feel so distant sometimes.
I'll bet. Yeah.
And dive into your episodes and be like, okay, we're here, we're doing it.
Yes.
We're good.
We're not the only ones going through these problems. Yes.
So cool. That's very encouraging. Well, thank you. And thank you again.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Well, I really hope that you enjoyed that. I definitely was inspired by just the simple and focused ideas of values, communication, structure, but focus on the relationships. Be people first. Focus on hiring the right people. I loved when they talked about how they're not going to just hire somebody to fill a shift. They want to make sure that what they've built here is going to be honored by their decisions and the people that they bring in to the space. And obviously 12 years later, still going strong, roasting coffee, serving their community up there in Alaska, and applaud them for their 12 years. And I'm sure that there's another great 12 years ahead for them. So thank you both, Kristen and Jenna, for joining me on the show. If you're interested in learning more, in buying coffee, staying plugged into what's happening in the cafes, if you want to visit their cafes, follow them on Instagram, Goldie's Coffee Roasters, and then also go to their website, goldiescoffeeroasters.com. And if you have any questions, comments, or feedback about today's episode, you can always email me at the email address of chris@keystotheshop.com. That's CHRIS at keystotheshop.com. I would invite you to do that. Also, if you're interested in coaching or consulting, it can take many different forms, from small to large packages in terms of consulting. I've worked with larger companies, smaller companies. It depends on what you need. And frankly, a lot of times it starts with a conversation, because trust me, I've hired consultants myself and worked with them and paid a lot of good money for coaching. And sometimes you just need to have the conversation in order to know what it is specifically that you need from this process. But you need something. So having a discovery call, having an opportunity to hash through, we want to make our business better. We know that we're missing something. Maybe we call it culture, we call it hospitality or quality, or maybe it's just, we want to make more income or be more profitable. There's some things that can be worked out in our discovery call that I think will lead to some solutions almost right away, but then maybe lead to further conversations in the form of coaching or consulting. And it just starts with reaching out, really. I'm grateful for everybody that's reached out so far over the past 8 years that we've been working with coffee shop owners. Over 85 different cafe businesses and owners have reached out and worked with Keys to the Shop, and we've helped all of them achieve great things and improve the condition of their culture, their cafes, their operations. And so this might be something that you want to look into. So again, if you're looking for that coach or consultant to help you in your business, or just help you as the owner, go ahead and reach out, chris@keystotheshop.com. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. And as always, I hope this episode has truly given you keys to the shop.